Viakoo is the leader in IoT vulnerability remediation. They implement automated device cyber hygiene at scale to manage firmware, passwords, and certificates, enabling their customers to continuously defend their IoT attack surface at the lowest risk and cost. Today's presenter is John Gallagher, Vice President of Viakoo Labs. Take it away, John.
Thanks, Kevin. At Viakoo, we've worked with a wide range of universities and higher education institutions. And one of the things that really comes across clearly is that the physical security teams are challenged to not just handle the traditional devices, but a really wide range of other things: code blue, kiosks on campus, visitor kiosks, intercom systems, etc. And the other thing that comes through is the scale. Right, all of these systems exist at a tremendously high scale in number of devices, as well as physical location. Right, some of the colleges we work with have multiple campuses geographically spread apart from each other. So the one thing that we've learned from both the scale and diversity of devices that these colleges and universities deal with is that automation is the key to success. And the next few slides I'll go into some of why that is and how it applies to both service assurance and to cyber hygiene of these systems. First, let's look at service assurance. Sometimes people say, well, what is that? I'm familiar with it as a concept of, I pick up the telephone and I get a dial, but what is it in physical security? So in physical security, I think there's three key things that the service assurance provides a physical security team. The first is it eliminates missing video incidents, right? All too often, teams that we work with, they go to retrieve the evidence and it just isn't there. And as shown in the headline here, sometimes that can both create, public issues in terms of, lack of trust in the organization being able to provide physical security. But in addition, it really provides a path for perpetrators or, threat actors to get away with things. And we want to make sure that every piece of video evidence that was captured and recorded by your team is available for use as evidence in forensics and in investigations. So that first and foremost is what service assurance brings you. The second thing is continuous diagnostics and monitoring of your infrastructure, right? When a failure occurs, you need to know immediately, and you also need to know how to fix it. And that's something that automation around service assurance provides. And then the last part is remote alerting and problem resolution. Many organizations today have gone hybrid or remote first or a variety of how people work. And what's great about service assurance in an automated way is that we found that about 75% of tickets that are generated can be resolved remotely. You don't need to roll a truck. That saves time, that saves money. It actually saves CO2 emissions. So all of the above are benefits to an organization. Now, why this is so complicated and requires automation, let's just look at what the path of video stream goes through as it goes through your physical security infrastructure. So that stream, and by the way, every stream goes through a different individual path from one another, adding to the complexity. But underneath it are a variety of components and applications that make that workflow happen. And so that workflow needs to be moving and grooving at all different levels of its operations. So having a path-centric or a video stream-centric approach is really required. And many organizations need to make sure that this is working as a team, but yet they don't have that service assurance overlay to do that. In fact, we recommend this. It's a great practice, but you shouldn't stop with just the VMS self-test health check, right? That tells you about the VMS, its health, and maybe something about its neighbors. But that overall stream-centric approach really adds to your ability to maintain and keep your physical security operations running exactly as they should. Now, the other thing I want to turn to with respect to automation is how IoT vulnerabilities, and by the way, physical security and IoT to me are, parts of the same food group. And those IoT devices like IP cameras, access control systems, they're a target for threat actors. And moreover, of course, colleges and universities are targets for the threat actors. And with the last few years in particular, we've seen that the threat landscape has shifted towards threat actors targeting and exploiting physical security systems. They typically have open interfaces. They might not be managed as tightly as IT systems, and they require different technology than IT systems do for maintaining their cyber hygiene, like firmware patching, certificates, and password rotations. So, education is a target, and the numbers are astounding. I won't dwell on these. I'll let that soak in for the viewers here, but 3 billion attacks on IoT in 2022, a new record. I'm expecting 2023 is going to exceed that by a significant amount. That's where the trend is. Now, coming back to automation with respect to cyber hygiene, given the scale, complexity, and physical spread that the devices we talked about at the beginning, again, automation is the key. We're seeing now with standard IP cameras, there might be 4 or 5 new firmware updates each year that need to be applied to those cameras. And using manual methods to do it, just either people-wise or financial cost-wise, just doesn't scale given that volume. And my prediction is going forward, we're going to see that frequency increase as more vulnerabilities are detected, found, and patched. So staying on top of it, again, automation keeps those costs low and keeps your system more secure. So just to conclude, I think the last few years, many of our partners and customers who work in higher education, they've faced expanding requirements, and it's not the simple silver bullet people are looking for, but clearly automation is a part of that solution. And by deploying automation around cyber hygiene and service assurance, you gain a lot of the benefits that are shown here on this slide, including span of control, cost reduction, and ability to prove compliance very easily. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and attention. I hope you think of some good questions during the Q&A part, and let me hand it back to Kevin.